Hello, everybody. Welcome to Productivity and Tea. I'm Kelly. I am your hostess tonight. I am the founder of D20 Theory, which is a lifestyle brand for multi-passionate women. That is ambitious, busy women who are trying to do all of the things, and we're trying to just figure out how to get by and how to do that. So today with Productivity and Tea, we are joined by Jenn of Conshy Coaching, and she is going to be chatting with us about all things productivity and maybe a little bit of tea. We were just talking with Melissa, who is our tea expert, and learning about the stress reliever tea, which is super, super delicious. And so just chatting about tea, of course, to get started. But I am going to start things off with just letting Jenn introduce herself, telling us who she is, what she does, and what makes her a multi-passionate.
Love it. Thank you for having me. And I'm really excited to be here tonight. I am, sipping on my Clear Mind out of this really cute mug that my friend designed. Actually using my brand as inspiration, like my love of sloths and my logos in the background. So, a little shout out to my friend who made this mug for me. But my name is Jenn Masse, and I am an ICF certified mindset and empowerment coach. And I am really passionate about empowering women, small business owners, and executives to break free from the limitations that are holding them back from unleashing their full potential. And ultimately, what that means is I empower people to achieve success on their terms. So whether that's redefining success or just breaking through some of the crap so they can actually reach their goals rather than kind of letting the busyness of life get in the way. So that's who I am and what I do. And what makes me multi-passionate is the fact that I kind of coach everything, because it does kind of sound like a broad spectrum, and that's because it is. Mindset goes into everything that we do. So it shows up in my business, but outside of coaching, I think it shows up in my love of nature, connecting with other humans, hiking, snuggling with my dog, hanging out at microbreweries. I'm a big fan of beer, trying new things. The other night, I actually learned how to play cribbage, which I had never even heard of before. And now I'm like all in. I've been like researching cribbage boards and trying to figure out what to do. So I just kind of like having my hands in everything. So and when I'm passionate about something, you can tell. Like I am 0 or 100 when it comes to being in on things. But yeah, I just like being involved.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is that is pretty much the definition right there. But of course, it's different for everybody, which is why I love to ask that question, because
Yeah.
there are certain things that overlap, and that's what connects us, not just me and you, but us as a group, as a species, to
Mm-hmm.
to connect and really like thrive with those types of connections. But at the same time, everybody has their totally different definition of success, like you said, but also of just what makes them happy, what makes them tick. Like all of that is super important in defining who we are as people, which sounds like a super simple phrase, but is such a big question in life. So, that's what we're here for. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
So, since this is productivity and tea, let's talk a little bit about productivity, which tends to boil down to things like systems, routines, tools, all of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff that I think sounds fun. And I hope somebody else thinks that sounds fun. But, like, really, it helps us do the things that we do find fun and enjoyable, even if you don't love using planners and apps and all those things. Like, it allows us to plan out our time and have systems that give us the freedom to do the things that we do find fun. So what to do all the things that you like to do and want to do, what kind of systems or tools do you use in your day-to-day or week-to-week life?
Yeah. I would say my go-to is Google Calendar.
Can't live
Everything
without
and yeah,
that.
can't live without it. Everything ends up on my calendar. Even if there's a friend who's like, hey, let's catch up soon. I'm like, schedule a time and a date. Because if it's not on my calendar, I'm not going to call you. And it's not that I'm not thinking about you. It's just like something else will overwrite that time. I'll forget that we talked about connecting at a certain time. So Google Calendar. I also find Google Calendar really helpful beyond meetings. Like if I have a certain task to do, I will block my calendar and be like, this hour is dedicated to doing this task. That really kind of helps me focus in on like, what am I supposed to be doing? So Google Calendar above all else. And then I also have, I don't think I have them in reach to show people, but I have 2 different good old fashioned pen and paper notepads that I use when I have too much going on and I can't keep it straight. I really think people need to get things out of their head and onto paper. So I use one if I have a lot of deliverables in a given week that kind of helps me map out like what's everything I need to do this week, what are the different days and when am I going to do it? And then I have one that's day specific that really helps me figure out like what do I have to hone in and focus on today? What are my top priorities? So those are like the big systems. And then the other things that I think really help are knowing your why, like why am I doing something? Because that can help you stay focused on the task. And just a good old fashioned cell phone timer sometimes. Like I'm going to be focused for 20 minutes and I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes. And I'm not allowed to do anything else until my timer goes off. Yeah, those are probably my go-tos.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's kind of a combination of like simple OG like pen and paper to fairly simple technology like a timer to more complicated things like Google Calendar and the Google Suite in general, like
Yeah.
all the things that integrate with Google and their products, or like, you know, iPhone and iCalendar and all those things. If you lean more towards that way, you know, just having something a little bit more robust can definitely be helpful.
And I also think it depends on what works for you. Like for me, it's pen and paper, but I have a lot of clients who refuse to write anything down. So they're very reliant on like Excel documents or task lists or like the Post-it note system on their laptop. And, you know, that doesn't work for me, but that works for them. And that's great.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
There's also,
Oh no, go ahead.
I was going to say, there's also a really cool tool out there for anyone who needs to like track their time, because sometimes tracking your time, especially if you're a small business owner, can get a little messy. And it's like, where do I write it down? How long have you been spending? And there's a free tool called Toggle that is great because you can literally just press the play button when you start a task and then press the end button when you're done. And it literally just keeps track of how you spend your time. So if you're not feeling productive or you're a small business owner who has to track your time, that's a cool tool for you to start being like, well, where am I spending my time and where do I need to be more productive?
Yeah, that's a good point. I've actually thought about that many times of like tracking my time for certain business related tasks specifically. And I'm almost afraid to do it because I don't want to know where like, I'm like, oh, I don't want to know how much time I spend making Canva graphics. I really don't. I just, it would be helpful information. And even me, I consider myself a very like organized, productive person. There's still things where like stages of change, like you have to get to the point where you're ready to look at things, you're ready to, even when you're like ready to start tracking that and keeping track of where your time's going, then you have to really sit down and like analyze it and then decide what to do. Like it's a multi-step process. So just to know where you are in that continuum of like, no, I'm just doing my thing right now. I'll track it later. Or, I tracked it, but I'm not ready to look at that information and really like do anything with it. That's okay. It's a whole process. It's not like a one day thing.
Yeah. And I found it really helpful because I didn't know how much time I spent prepping for new clients. Because a lot of my new clients, I guess all of my new clients, I give them a couple assessments and then I take time to prep the debrief. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how much time I was spending. And once I had that realization, I'm like, oh my gosh, I spend like 6 or 7 hours. That also gave me permission to raise my rates because it was like, I'm charging for more than just the FaceTime I have with these clients. Like I'm charging for all of this background stuff that I had never factored in before. So I think it's really important. And I also see Georgia put in the chat, like, if if you need to remember it, you have to write it down. And then it is the trick of like, where did I write it? So
Yeah,
creating
exactly.
systems, it's like, whether it's like, for me, I know like I have these 5, I don't know how many bullets I have here. I have these 5 things I need to do tomorrow. So I literally threw them on a Post-it note, but then it will make it onto my daily to-do list tomorrow. But
Right.
it's like, oh, I'm thinking about it. So it's like, let me put it on something blue so I can't miss it. And then I'll literally put the Post-it note on my daily thing. So I'll transfer it. So it's like
Yeah.
creating systems that work.
Yeah,
For you.
it's a multi-step process. I do see in the chat we have some pen and paper lovers, and I think we're pretty consistent with that as far as this group here tonight. Like I actually have a list that says I love lists that one of my friends gave me a couple of years ago for Christmas. How I haven't used all of that paper yet is, I don't know, a big question. I have no idea. Probably because I have so many of them and I switch between like, you know, what I actually need it for. And everybody knows that I love notepads and stuff, so I get them a lot. Not complaining at all. I will happily accept all the sticky notes, pens, and notepads the rest of my life. But at the same time, I end up with so many of them. And yeah, it is kind of a tricky thing to like, you know, it's great to get it out of your head. To physically write it down feels good. Like it feels so much better to check off or like scribble off something on a list than it does to just watch it pass by on your Google Calendar. Like that's not as gratifying.
Totally. Or like deleting a line from Excel, like where is the satisfaction in that?
Yeah, they need to figure out some way to link that to our brains to like trigger the the dopamine or whatever to make us feel the same satisfaction. But until then, I'm gonna keep using little sticky notes and writing down my like sub lists because honestly, I don't like looking at screens all day. So it's great to have that system where I can easily move things around on the calendar. I can add little notes to it without like having a full notebook in my arm the whole day. But at the same time, like I just walk around with like a sticky note attached to my finger on the weekends when I'm trying not to look at screens as much. And I'm just carrying my sticky note around with me because I don't want to look at my phone. And it probably sounds kind of silly now that I'm saying it out loud, but really,
if it works,
like, you find a system that works and like it allows me to accomplish the goal of not looking at the screen as much. And those like little goals are just as important to like creating the experience and the life that you want as those big goals that are usually the ones that make it onto your goal plan, onto like your yearly wish list, your vision board, all those things. Like it's those little things that don't make it onto the list that are actually just as important. So I'm going to keep carrying my sticky note around on my finger.
Yeah. And honestly, it's those little goals and those little steps that, like you said, like will get you there. But to me, it's like, it's nice to write down the big goal and create the vision board, but ultimately it's like, what is the very smallest baby step that you can do to get to that goal? Because that's what you should be focusing on. It's like, take that little step, do the little things, because unless you take time to break it down into the absolute smallest step possible, it's going to seem out of reach and unattainable. So it's like,
yeah,
big goal, good, baby goal, better. Maybe.
Yeah, sounds good to me. How has the forever going on pandemic, I hate to talk about the pandemic, but like it's so present. How has that changed like anything that you've done with your productivity or like your mindset around goals? Like how has that impacted you, or how have you seen that impact your clients in, you know, over the past couple of years?
It's been a roller coaster. It has been a roller coaster. Where I was in my business and mindset when the pandemic first came in, I was actually in a pretty good spot. Was just starting to build my business. I was in a very good place. And because I had such a high energy level and this like coaching mindset, I was able to realize that I was like, oh my gosh, I am in the position that I can help people. I can use energy leadership and I can help people understand like it's okay to be freaking out right now, but let's and it's okay to be drained, and it's okay to be not know what the next step is. So I actually felt very empowered at the beginning of the pandemic, because I'm like, I have tools and systems and education that can help people. That said, my top two values are freedom and connection. So as much as I was able to empower and inspire people, which are some guiding principles of mine, internally, I was really struggling because my ability to be free, we didn't even know if it was safe to go outside. We didn't know. And being in the Philadelphia area, I didn't have a great connection to nature. I had to go up to the AT, which the closest access point to the Appalachian Trail is, an hour away. And the trails are so narrow that I was afraid to miss people when everybody was on the trail. So I just felt very, very disconnected and alone. And so my husband and I actually took 2.5 months to come out here to Oregon, where I am now. And we lived out here for a couple months because I was in such a deep place that I was I need to reconnect with nature. I need, I need to refocus on my mindset, because if I don't take care of myself, I'm not going to be able to help my clients. So it has definitely been a roller coaster, and it definitely showed up in my productivity. And that's where I think it's really important to focus on your why, because I was able, first of all, it was a realization, I'm not going to be as productive as I would like to be at certain times. I need self-care. I need to focus on myself, but also I took the time to create some really cool projects, and I did some group coaching stuff. So I always had my client sessions to look forward to, and I always had things to kind of prep for them. And I found my productivity kind of came out through my social media feed, because I'm I want to be able to share. I have so much to share. So it just kind of pivoted, where I was productive, and how I was productive. I ended up starting a book club because I needed to connect with people. So I ended up being really productive in that area, but some of my other business stuff just kind of went out the window, and that, it was okay. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster for my clients, especially the clients with kids. This pandemic has been really, really challenging. I have a lot of small business owners who, they don't know if they can stay open from day to day, and they've been having to create different tools and systems, and it's taken a hit. So I think how you have to adjust your routine is understand what is your energy need? What expectations do you have to change? In the beginning, when people are oh my gosh, I'm working from home and I'm not nearly as productive as I'd be in the office. I'm well, no shit. Duh, you don't even know if you can get toilet paper. How do you think you can be 100% focused on your job? Or you don't have the tools and systems, or you have you're also playing teacher. Obviously you're not being as productive. So how do you reset your expectations and be more accepting of the situation? Because even just accepting your situation is enough to kind of shift your energy and be oh, okay, it is what it is. What options do I have available to me, rather than fighting it? So that's kind of been a shift in being how do I accept and embrace and go from there?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. We're still here.
We're still here, and it is, it ebbs and flows. When I was in Oregon at the end of 2020, I was great. And then I came home and fell into a deep depression. And then it was having to kind of claw myself out of that. And, I started a hiking group because I'm how do I connect with people? What do I do?
Yeah.
So it's kind of figuring out if you're feeling really low, or you don't have energy, or you're burnt out. It's, maybe pull back from the need to be productive and look at how can you introduce joy? Because if you can focus on introducing joy into your life, then eventually you'll have the energy that you can repivot back, that will give you more like more energy to be productive and get the things done that you actually need to get done.
Yeah. And it feels counterproductive at the time, but you're right. You're very right that it kind of, it's like a boomerang. It's like you got to throw it out for it to come back. And that's how it works with your energy and your productivity sometimes. And
Totally. It's like,
everything you're saying just like resonates so strongly with me right now because I'm going through some stuff myself. Like I'm not I'm not feeling my best day to day, but I've honestly made a goal recently, like just have more fun, do more things that relieve stress. It's okay if I move the thing on my calendar to the next day. Like I'm usually pretty strict with myself and my routines, and that's part of why I am so productive in so many areas of my life. And I'm flexible. I'm pretty flexible in a lot of ways, but it's required me to even test the limits of like that balance of like how many times per week can I move something on my calendar before I start to feel bad about it. Like it's gone too far. And like, but for a greater cause of me feeling better, me having more energy and ultimately being more productive. So like it's
yeah.
totally relate to all
Yeah.
of what you're saying.
Yeah. And the other thing I like to, it's like, it's not always about doing more. It's sometimes like doing less. And, stopping is okay. Like sometimes stopping feels like quitting and feels like stagnation. But like if we intentionally stop or we intentionally slow down, it's an investment in our future. So like if we're feeling burnt out and it's like, whoa, like I mentally just can't right now, it's okay to move that thing, or it's okay to be like, I can't respond right now. Like I gotta just take care of me. And sometimes that's a day or two, and sometimes that's a week or two. Like, but ultimately it's like, how do you just reinvest in your energy in yourself? Because that will make you super productive and excited, and it will help you beat the burnout down the line.
Yeah, definitely. So what have you done? It is Thursday now. What have you done this week so far that's like been that one thing to like get you out of a funk or like made you, reduce your stress? Like what have you been able to do recently to kind of reset yourself?
Yeah. So I'll today. So typically I spread my clients out throughout the week. But they all kind of ended up between yesterday and today. So today, and it's that time of the month, so I'm feeling pretty drained. So this morning I ended up with like an extra 20 minutes between client calls, and I just sat on the couch and I drank my coffee. And then right before this, I had an hour and I was like, I'm going to take a shower. Like I feel I probably hadn't showered since Monday because I only shower on the days that I work out. So like I hadn't showered. I was like, I was like, I'm feeling really tired and really drained. And I wanted to be able to show up to this and, give you my best energy and give all of you my best energy. And like, I need to shower. I'm going to make loose leaf tea. I'm not going to bag it. And I also, for the first time since moving here, turned on my diffuser and I put an energy blend into my oil diffuser. And I'm sitting as I'm smelling, it's like a peppermint orange something mix. I'm not an oil junkie, but it's something that I created that
It
says
sounds
energy
very
blend.
energizing.
Oh my gosh, but I'm smelling like, why have I not turned this on before? Like, this is amazing. So yeah, that's what I've done for me today is I took time to drink some coffee and then I took a shower. And
It sounds like a little thing, but I've honestly been putting a reminder. I've been using this app called Finch. It's like a self-care app. It's like I call it a self-care Tamagotchi for anybody who had a little Tamagotchi as a kid like I did. And it's kind of silly. It can be helpful. But I've just been hitting the little button that's like, remind me to take 3 deep breaths at some random time today. And I'm like, oh, what's the next reminder on my phone? What's coming up? What do I need to do? Oh, pause. That's what I
yeah,
need to do.
yeah. And even like in the
3 deep breaths
shower,
makes
like I usually use like I use some stupidly expensive shampoo that my friend sold me on. But my husband uses the Trader Joe's tea tree shampoo that smells really good. And it's like the smell of it is really energizing.
Tea tree does smell good.
It does. So in the shower, like I'm like, the goal of the shower is to wake me up and energize me. So I'm like, I'm going to use the tea tree shampoo
We
because I
won't
would
tell them.
yeah. And I was like literally lathering and then like smelling the shampoo because I'm like, this is for me. This is like, yes, I'm rushing through this, but it's also me time. So like,
Yeah.
remember it, enjoy it. Remember your why. Like you're not, I mean, yes, I smelled and I needed a shower, but also I wanted to wake up.
You can have two reasons why. Multi-purpose.
Yeah, totally.
Multi-passionate, multi-purpose. We got it all.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's what I've done recently.
Yeah. And you also mentioned the book club. What's a book or even maybe not a whole book, maybe just a quote from a book, whatever comes to you first that has been like inspiring to you.
Recently or just in general?
Either, whichever one you feel called to share, or both, if there's
Both.
two.
So there's not really a quote out of it, but I just finished listening to Grandma Gatewood's, the story about Grandma Gatewood, which is the first woman who hiked the Appalachian Trail, and she did it when she was 68 or 69. That book to me was like super kind of uplifting and empowering, and I just really enjoyed going for walks and listening to that and being like, wow, like I should not complain that my feet hurt after like a mile.
Yeah, it gives you perspective.
Total perspective. But a quote that I always come back to is the only way to predict your future is to create it, which is attributed to Abe Lincoln and some other people, but I always just say Abe Lincoln. Mm-hmm. But when I'm kind of feeling in a dump or things aren't going my way, like I come back to that quote because I'm like, you're the only one who has control over your future. So it's like, what do you need to do right now? So yeah, so that, and then anything Brene Brown.
Oh yeah.
Signed, sealed, delivered, Brene Brown.
Yeah, pretty much. Sign me up for all of it.
All of it.
I'll listen to the podcast, read the books, give me all of it.
Yeah. I'm like, if there's a quote by Brene Brown, I have probably requoted it. She's amazing. The other one, the one from her right now that I think has resonated with a lot of my clients is that you don't have to do it all alone. You were never meant to. And in this time of COVID and feeling disconnected and feeling like you're kind of on an island alone, especially if you work from home, it's nice to remember that you have a community and there are people to reach out to and you can ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah. We feel like a one-woman show a lot of the times, I think. Yeah. Trying to do a lot of things as one person and for multiple people. It's like multiple things for you and then multiple things for other people. We take on all these roles and then either are too stubborn to ask for help, too shy to ask for help, just fill in the blank, whatever adjective to ask for help. And people are there and they're usually willing to help just as much as we are willing to say yes and help other people. There are usually people who are willing to do the same for us, but it's a matter of reaching out and actually doing it that seems like such a big barrier sometimes.
Yeah. Acknowledging you need help, accepting you need help, and then being willing to ask for help.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Well, I love staying on the topic of like inspiration and all that because I know I mentioned COVID for 2 seconds. So I'm like, the rest of it needs to be super upbeat. We're no more.
Seriously.
Do you have? I love to just scroll through. I know scrolling through Instagram is such like a don't do it for too long kind of like it has a stigma now. But when I need some inspiration, I have like 2 Instagram accounts. One private one that I don't post anything on. I'm just like a creepy Instagram stalker, just for my own well-being to follow like cute little puppies and things like that.
Totally.
But and then there's D20 Theory's Instagram, where I don't follow any of that stuff, and I try not to be a creeper. But do you, whether you have a separate Instagram account or you're just following along on your Conshy Coaching page, what accounts do you always look for, or always feel inspired by when you
Yeah.
need that little extra boost?
Yeah, it's funny. I have a private account. I don't have enough energy to go over there. So I'm like, you know what? I'm my brand. I'm just going to follow whoever I want to follow. I'm going to creep on whoever I want to creep on.
Yeah.
There is no separation. I only have energy to do my account, and sometime my dog does have an Instagram account. So I'm also doing his Instagram account. But I love all of those like Upworthy and good news movements and all of like the ones that are just feel goodies. There's like the Happy Sloth Club that always has fun quotes and risk happy. But two accounts that I absolutely love, and I also know who they are. I really love Hillary Young Creative, who I know you have had as a guest sometimes.
Hmm.
I absolutely love her account because as much as her content is directed at marketing and helping promote your brand and becoming a strong business owner and a female in business, all of her content can be directly applied to real life. So I like just reading her content, as a business owner, but also being like, yeah, I have the power to be authentic. And like, it just very much aligns to kind of my messaging. And she just does a really good job with it. And then the other one is Swaddaloo. And that is my friend Courtney's account. She's an Instagram friend. But she is the mother of 4, and she created this swaddle, which I don't have kids, but apparently it's like a life-changing swaddle that your kid starts sleeping through the night instantly, whatever. What inspires me about her and her feed is just knowing like she is the mother of 4, she has a full-time job, and she's building this business from the ground up, and just seeing the energy and just seeing who she is as a mom. And she is real and raw and kind of sharing like what it's like to try to balance it all. And she just inspires me.
Yeah, and you can even through like a curated Instagram feed, even if you plan out your content, you can tell who's real, who's authentic. Like you feel that energy, you get that inspiration, and it's so different than, some other accounts. I'm not gonna like I don't have anything that comes to mind immediately. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to name names, but just
No.
you can see with both of them that like I can tell that you can tell that they're like authentic and genuine
Yeah.
and like putting themselves out there. And it's just, there's a different type of connection that kind of
Mhm.
reminds you what social media can be and why it can be good when we know it gets a bad rap sometimes. But like, there's a lot of good out there, and what you are intentional about and choose to follow and who you choose to connect with, like that can make it a totally different experience.
Totally different. And I also follow a couple like dog rescues and stuff. And the one is Josh the Doodle. And they're advocates for dogs with neurological disabilities. And it's just like, even though it's all about animals, it really is like, I don't know. It's just like their content is so inspiring because I'm like, you are giving these dogs like a second chance, and you are realizing that there's value even if you're not perfect. And there's so much good on social. And as long as you're using social for the right reasons, whether it's to grow your business or connect with people, like some of my best friends at this point, they're all Instagram friends. Like they're all people I met on the gram after I started my business. I obviously have some of my core friends from before I started my business, but most of my friends are from the gram.
Yeah, yeah, I can relate to that. There's so many people that I've met either on, through Instagram or at networking events that I would have never gone to, whether it's virtual or in person, that I would have never gone to if I didn't have the purpose of like, well, I don't really want to go for me. I'm an
Yeah.
introvert, I'm a homebody, like you'll find me out hiking more than you'll find me around people, that kind of thing. But I'm like, well, but I want to grow my brand. I want to learn more from these other people who are further along in business than me. And so like I made connections in that sense. And that's kind of like, there's so many opportunities when you know your reason for connecting
Yeah.
and you're just intentional and you're genuine with your own, I guess, intentions. I just said intentions.
Yeah.
Times,
What's really funny is you say that because it's like, so I just, moved across the country to Oregon in November, and my top two values are freedom and connection. And within 2 weeks, I'm like, I am really lonely. It's just me and my husband. I have no community. I didn't know anybody here, especially in Sisters. I have one friend in Bend, which is like 30 minutes away, but I didn't know anybody here. And I was trying to like, how do I meet people? Like, not really for my business, but just like, how do I meet people for my own sanity and my own mental wellness, and mental health? And as I joined a gym, like there's this local gym here that there's small group classes, because I knew a traditional gym wouldn't allow me to meet people, because I wouldn't necessarily just go up and be like, oh, I see you're doing arm day. But it's been,
yeah, I don't picture you doing that.
no, but like what's great about the gym is like the owner is so warm and welcoming, and it was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have a family. But I also, because I knew my why was to meet people, when she was like, okay, Jen, I want you at, this range for your pace on the bike. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Like, like I haven't done group fitness in like a decade. So I'm going to ease myself in and not be competitive, because I know that's not healthy for me. I'm like, but I'm going to remember my why, which is to meet people. So yeah, there's so many great ways to kind of connect with and build a community that inspires you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are running out of time here, so I want to give you an opportunity to share something exciting you have going on, what you've got going on either with your coaching business or whatever's exciting you recently. Shameless plug, whatever you want to share.
Yeah, I'm in this really cool transition period, because the past 2 years I've really been focused on moving out west. So as much as I was growing my business, I was very much focused on like, I need to move out west. I need to get closer to the mountains. I need to get closer to nature. And now that came true, I'm now in this really cool spot where I'm like, wow, like I have more time and energy that I can actually focus on growing my business. COVID is, knocking on wood, starting to phase out. So I'm actually, earlier this week, I decided that I think I'm going to host an in-person retreat in early October. So I'm really excited about that, because I wanted to host a retreat for a couple of years now. And just between COVID and then the logistics of trying to host a retreat out west when I didn't live out west, just kind of seemed out of reach to me. So I don't really actually know what this looks like, other than the fact that earlier this week, I'm like, I want to do it. So that's probably what I'm most excited about right now.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. And then it's always just fun. I graduated a couple clients earlier this week. So like, yeah, I absolutely love when my clients are like, we come to the end of their package and they're like, I'm ready. Like I'm ready to just kind of keep implementing, and like, we'll check in maybe once a month or whatever. But I'm like, yes, go spread your wings. Like the moment you don't need me anymore is the moment that I'm like, we did something right. So that's also fun, because I'm like, ooh, like time to like welcome in new ones, and kind of reset the stage and help people with new goals, especially as we, hopefully are transitioning.
Yeah, exactly. So how can people connect with you if they want to slide into that open spot?
Come on in. So Instagram is always a great way to connect with me, at Conshy Coaching. My website's always an amazing resource. And if anyone listening, either live or in the replay, is like, yes, I'm in, you can just go to conshycoaching.com/I'm ready. And that will take you, that will allow you to book a complimentary exploration call with me, where we can just talk about what's going on, what are you struggling with, what are some solutions, And if coaching is part of that solution, then I will introduce my packages to you. But I always tell everyone, I am not a hard sell. Like if I have to convince you of my value, it's just not going to work. And I'm sure it's the same with you and your clients. It's like, if I have to convince you about the power of coaching and you're not bought into the power of coaching, then it's just not going to jive.
It's not the right time or not the right fit. There's something not quite there, and
Not
that's
quite.
okay.
And it's like, that happens a lot where we talk and they're like, not now, but maybe in a couple months or maybe in a year. And eventually people do circle back. I always laugh when I say circle back because I say it all the time, but I know people are hating on the term circle back right now.
Are they?
Oh yeah, it's like it's some of that corporate lingo that people are like, the top 5 things not to say anymore, and circle back is one of them. I love it as long as you are truly coming back. Like if you're going to say circle back and not come back, that's not okay.
Yeah, it sounds like more of a behavioral problem, not a word problem. Don't diss on the words.
Yeah. But anyways, like if you're looking to connect, if you're looking to boost some energy, like, connect with me on Insta. But yeah, if we can always schedule a call, and yeah. Thank you for allowing me to self-plug. I love that.
Oh yeah, of course. It would be, I feel like it wouldn't be a good experience if we're like, oh, the end, shut it off.
Done.
Yeah.
Mic drop, I'm out.
How do I find her? What do we? And while we're talking about connecting and things like that, I just want to circle back, because I'm going to keep using the term, to before we actually started to hit record. So for anybody who is watching the replay, we were talking more about tea before, the tea part of productivity and tea before we hit record. And Melissa and I are both drinking the stress reliever tea. I was going to show you the mug. You can't tell what tea I'm drinking from my mug, but just in case, stress reliever tea, which is a super delicious herbal tea that Sipology makes. And for anybody who is anybody who registered for this, I will be sending out a link to that in case it sounds delicious or you want to check it out for yourself. So that plus the link to the Conshy Coaching website. Also, I love the actual URL of like, I'm ready. It's like an affirmation in a website, which I'm all for. Like I now need to redesign everything on my website, redirect all my pages to be affirmations.
Totally. That's full disclosure. That's the only one that's an affirmation. But it is so powerful. But like, yeah, I'm ready to explore.
Yeah. Like I typed this in.
Yeah. Like I'm ready to explore what that next chapter looks like.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Well, that's a perfect positive note to end on. So thank you, everybody who joined us live. Thank you, Melissa, for sharing the tea. Thank you, Jen, for chatting with me about all things productivity, mindset, goal setting, self-care, whatever else we talked about today. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this productivity tea. And I will hope to see you all again in a few months when we do it all over again, when we circle back. I'm going to see how many times I can use the phrase.
When we circle back and talk to the next guest.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.